All right, guys, so I spray fixed this drawing, okay? So it's now nice and fixed. There's nothing coming off. And I just want to set out my tools, basically, my stuff, what I'm going to use. And so you can see it's a bowl of water here. Here's a plate. You can see I go to T-Rex in Disney's Springs far too often. Here's just some inexpensive, cheap acrylic paint. It's Artist Loft. I got my camera inverted so I know the letters are coming off like backwards or whatever. But it just says gray. It literally just says G-R-E-Y, gray. Okay? You can get black and white and mix it up, but why go through all that effort and work to do this when all I got to do is just buy some gray and I'm done. So as you can see, I squeezed out just a little tiny bit right there of that gray. I don't need a whole bunch of paint. Now I'm just gonna water it down just a little bit. And by the way, here are the brushes that I'm using. I got a little soft brush to maybe have to blend some stuff out. You can see how soft this is. I probably won't use it. Here's a nice flat brush. Again, I want the Michaels, real cheap brush. Doesn't have to be anything expensive. Nylon brush or whatever. Just kind of stiff. And I hope you can see this. Let me put it up closer. See how soupy I'm making this this paint? I'm making it soupy. I don't want it to be straight paint, or else you won't be able to draw over it. Okay? I just need it to be soupy like this, so I can make it transparent, essentially. And so now I'm just applying it over to the skin. I got a chunk of acrylic that came off, so I just got to pick that up and take it off. And as you can see, I'm just going anywhere that there's flesh, so the ear, be the furthest extent. And I'm just doing that right there, just like so. And again, if it gets into the hair, it doesn't matter, because the hair is going to be even darker than the gray, right? The hair is black. And so you can see already she's getting that gray. Now, why gray? Why not something else, right? Well, when you're shading later on, when you're shading in in charcoal, your shading's going to look gray. It's not going to look black. It will look black in some areas, but shading is essentially going to become gray. And so for that reason, it only makes sense to use gray, because what other choice would you use, right? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm just trying to give it that gray base, so then when I'm done with this, it'll cover more of all those crazy splatters and stuff that you saw me do if you were in my class, or that you can see in the background. So I'm just dipping into this gray. Now, if your gray paint just doesn't really cover up the really bright spots as well as you wanted, let it dry, okay? Just let it sit there. It's acrylic, so this stuff will be dry in a heartbeat, okay? It's almost drying in the face. And because it's a watercolor paper, this paper can withstand the liquid, okay, the water. If you were to use a regular pastel paper or any other drawing paper, it just wouldn't withstand the liquid, all the water, and it would start warping and just giving you one headache after another. And so again, you're doing a very light coat. Now, why not just go into this with a heavier coat of gray paint, right? Be done with it all in one shot, you're thinking. If you were to do that, what would end up happening is you would have a thick layer of gray paint, and then trying to draw on top of that would be almost impossible. It would be very, very difficult, if not impossible, because acrylic paint, once it's dry, becomes almost like a plasticky sort of surface, and you're not going to be able to draw on top of that. Okay, you would have done all this effort and wasted your time, and you just have this weird looking gray skinned girl. Okay, so that's the first coat. You saw how easy that was, no rocket science, just anywhere there's flesh. I went into it with a watery gray. My wife just walked through the door and she's got me some Subway. So in the next segment, I'm gonna do another coat of this gray, okay? And that way, I'm gonna let this dry and I'll have a nice thick layer of gray. And then after the second coat, I should be good. And then I'm gonna go over it with a gesso mix that I'm gonna talk about so you can have some tooth. And that way your charcoal goes over this much easier, okay? So we'll see you in a bit.